Hello and welcome to the CompTIA Cybersecurity Analyst CySA Plus Certification Study Guide. In this video, we will discuss Chapter 12 Summary. Please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Summary. There are two types of data collections of user private data that occur. The first is an overt and legitimate gathering of this data by an organization. The second type of data collection is a concealed and questionable collection of user data. This collection is usually done in secret without the user's clear knowledge and express consent, and is questionable because there is no clear business case for gathering it. Significant issues are raised with how data gathered through both types of data collection are used. One particular type of information that raises serious concerns regarding its collection is personally identifiable information, or PII. This is data that could identify a specific individual. It includes the person's full name, social security number, driver's license number, bank account number, passport number, and similar information. There are different technical controls that can be applied for protecting data, both sensitive user data and important corporate data. One control is to prevent access to the data so that a threat actor cannot reach it. Encryption is the practice of transforming information so that it cannot be understood by unauthorized parties and thus is protected. It can provide a range of security protections, including confidentiality, integrity, authentication, non-repudiation, and obfuscation. Another means of preventing access to data is to implement data loss prevention, or DLP. DLP allows the owner of the data to impose restrictions on its use. DLP is a system of security tools that is used to recognize and identify data that is critical to the organization and ensure that it is protected. Whereas DLP restricts data based on the content of the data, another control technology can be used to restrict data based on the location of the user. This requires the user to be in a specific location to access the data. This is known as geographic access requirements, geofencing. Access control is granting or denying approval to use specific resources. It is limiting or controlling access to assets. While physical access control consists of fencing or hardware door locks, technical access control consists of technology restrictions that limit users on digital devices from accessing resources and data. A framework called an access control scheme is embedded in the software and hardware, and a custodian steward can use the appropriate scheme to configure the necessary level of control. The discretionary access control (DAC) scheme is one of the most common but also the least restrictive. The rule-based access control scheme is more robust and can dynamically assign roles to subjects based on a set of rules defined by a custodian. Each resource object contains a set of access properties based on the rules. An access control list, ACL, contains rules that administer the availability of digital assets by granting or denying access to the assets. Sometimes it is not possible to strictly prevent access to data. In cases where preventing access to data is not possible, it is then important to apply the control of limiting access to the data. For many years, protecting intellectual property, IP, has been attempted through digital rights management, DRM. DRM is a broad category of access control technologies that are designed to restrict the use and duplication of digital content across a wide range of devices. DRM is intended to grant control and protection over IP for the creators and content providers who own the digital media. Watermarking is also used in conjunction with DRM. A watermark is an invisible and unique embedded piece of information that is added to the content so that any pirated content can be easily traced back to the offending user. Another technical control for protecting data is to hide the data so that it cannot be identified and used, called de-identification. Data masking involves creating a copy of the original data but makes unintelligible any sensitive elements such as a user's name or social security number. By replacing the actual information with fictitious information, testing can still be carried out without using sensitive data. Tokenization obfuscates sensitive data elements, such as an account number, into a random string of characters called a token. The original sensitive data element and the corresponding token are then stored in a database called a token vault so that if the actual data element is needed, it can be retrieved. Destroying data is the final technical control for protecting data. Because data itself is intangible, Destroying data that is no longer needed involves destroying the media on which the data is stored. In addition to technical controls for protecting data, there are also non-technical controls. Different legal regulations are in place to protect the privacy of user data, and following these regulations can be considered a non-technical control. Violating these regulations may have significant legal implications. Another non-technical means of protecting sensitive data is to apply risk management principles toward its protection. Organizations must determine how realistic is the chance that a given threat will compromise an asset, called the likelihood of occurrence. This is stated in terms of risk. Another non-technical control for protecting data is to not keep the data any longer than is necessary. Purging unnecessary data eliminates the risk of a threat actor accessing it. Data retention involves determining how long data must be kept. Many regulatory bodies set specifications for the length of time that data should be retained, retention standards. There are also restrictions that should be followed regarding the collection and usage of data. Data minimization limits the collection of personal information to that which is directly relevant and necessary to accomplish a specific task. Purpose limitation is a principle that data collected for one specified purpose should not be used for a new or incompatible purpose. The proper usage of data in cybersecurity can significantly enhance protection. Data analytics is a process that examines large data sets in order to draw conclusions about the information they contain. It involves using techniques and tools to identify patterns and trends in the data, which can create insights for informed decision-making. One of the most critical features of data analytics is that it is not limited to just observing what is presently happening, descriptive, and why it is happening, diagnostic. It can also be used to look ahead as to what will likely happen in the future, predictive, and prepare for it, prescriptive. Data analytics has been used for many years as a tool in cybersecurity. Cybersecurity data analytics is a proactive approach to cybersecurity that uses data collection, aggregation, and analysis capabilities to perform functions that include detecting, analyzing, and mitigating cyber threats. A subset of data analytics is artificial intelligence, AI. While AI involves data analytics, it is autonomous. It works on its own without immediate or continual human assistance. Using data analytics, users create algorithms designed to learn patterns and correlations from data. AI can then use these algorithms to create its own additional predictive models, but by itself and without human intervention. AI is ideally suited to address many of the challenges of cybersecurity. AI technologies currently exist to properly train a self-learning AI system to gather data continuously and independently from millions or billions of data points that can be immediately analyzed to identify patterns of an attack. AI technologies can search large volumes of alerts and data concerning cyber incidents with a speed and a degree of accuracy that users cannot match. However, there are concerns about AI and cybersecurity in its current form. Some CISOs say that they see the potential of AI but are unconvinced that in its current form it provides significant benefits today. Although the use of AI in cybersecurity is important and growing, there are risks associated with using it in cybersecurity. Threat actors themselves can attack AI systems and take advantage of AI, called adversarial AI. Review questions. 1. Which step in the risk review cycle has as its goal to keep the risk aligned with the risk appetite? A. Identify the context. B. Identify the risk. C. Determine the appropriate response. D. Monitor and evaluate. Answer. C. Determine the appropriate response. Explanation. One of the most critical steps in the risk review cycle is to determine the appropriate response to each risk. The goal of this step is to identify ways to keep the risk aligned with the risk appetite, tolerance, in a way that is as cost-effective as possible. 2. Which risk strategy would utilize a cybersecurity insurance company? A. Accept. B. Transfer. C. Combat. D. Prevent. Answer. B. Transfer. Explanation. For risks that fall outside of tolerance levels, they can be reduced to an acceptable level by transferring or sharing a portion of the consequences with another party, such as a cybersecurity insurance company. 3. Which risk strategy requires no additional response except for monitoring? A. Accept. B. Enforce. C. Mitigate. D. Avoid. Answer. A. Accept. Explanation. The accept risk strategy requires no further response except for monitoring. 4. If a tester does not want the sensitive elements of the testing data to be exposed, what technology should be used? API hiding B, tokening C, masking D, data object obfuscation DOO. Answer C, masking explanation. Data masking involves creating a copy of the original data, but makes unintelligible any sensitive elements such as a user's name or social security number. By replacing the actual information with fictitious information, testing can still be carried out without using sensitive data. 5. Which access control scheme is the least restrictive? A. Role-based access control. B. DAC-C. Rule-based access control DMAC. Answer B. DAC. Explanation. The discretionary access control DAC scheme is one of the most common but also the least restrictive. With the DAC scheme, every object has an owner who has total control over that object. Most importantly, the owner has discretion, the choice, as to who can access their objects and can grant permissions to other subjects over these objects. 6. Which permissions are attached to an object? A. Object modifier. B. ACL CSXRED. Entity attribute ENATT. Answer B. ACL explanation. An access control list, ACL, contains rules that administer the availability of digital assets by granting or denying access to the assets. 7. Which mechanism will provide both file system security and network security? A. DBAs, B. DPC, HAPs, D. ACLs. Answer D. ACLs. Explanation. An access control list, ACL, contains rules that administer the availability of digital assets by granting or denying access to the assets. There are two types of ACLs. The first type is a file system ACL that filters access to files and directories on an endpoint. A file system is a method for storing and organizing computer files to facilitate access. File system ACLs provide file system permissions for protecting files managed by the OS by telling it who can access the device and what privileges they are allowed. The second type is networking ACLs that filter access to a network. 8. What is another name for geographic access requirements? A. Geolocating. B. Geofencing. C. Geotagging. D. Geoidentifying. Answer B. Geofencing. Explanation. A control technology can be used to restrict data based on the location of the user. This requires that the user be in a specific location in order to access the data. This is known as geographic access requirements, or more commonly, geofencing. 9. Which of the following is not a protection provided by encryption? A. Confidentiality. B. Non-repudiation. C. Accounting. D. Integrity. Answer C. Accounting explanation. Accounting is not a protection that is provided by encryption. 10. Which of the following is used to protect IP? A. BLBB, DARM, C. ARC, D. XLS. Answer B. DARM explanation. Protecting IP has been attempted through digital rights management, DRM. DRM is a broad category of access control technologies that are designed to restrict the use and duplication of digital content across a wide range of devices. DRM is intended to grant control and protection over IP for the creators and content providers who own the digital media. 11. Which of the following is not correct about watermarking? A. It is invisible. B. It is used in conjunction with DRM. C. It can be erased if the content is altered. D. It allows for unauthorized duplications to be traced back to the source. Answer C. It can be erased if the content is altered. Explanation. A watermark is an invisible and unique embedded piece of information that is added to the content. If the content is transcoded, resized, shrunk, or altered, the watermark still persists. Watermarking is a means by which pirated content can be easily traced back to the offending user. Watermarking is added in post-production after the content is encoded, but before it is protected by DRM. 12. Which of the following allows de-identified material to be retrieved as needed? A. Data masking. B. Tokenization. C. Element obfuscation. D. Reordering. Answer B. Tokenization. Explanation. Tokenization obfuscates sensitive data elements, such as an account number, into a random string of characters, token. The original sensitive data element and the corresponding token are then stored in a database called a token vault so that if the actual data element is needed, it can be retrieved. Unlike encryption, which requires the use of an algorithm and a key, tokenization can hide the data while making the retrieval process more seamless. Because it is possible to restore the original data, tokenization is called pseudo-anonymization. 13. Which of the following is not covered by DRM? A. Ebooks, B. PIC music, D. Computer games. Answer B. PHI. Explanation. PHI is a fictitious term. 14. Which of the following is not correct about legal regulations as they apply to protecting data? A. A fundamental EU principle of data protection is the right to be forgotten. B. National data protections that apply to a country or group of countries do not exist. C. To violate a regulation may have significant ramifications known as legal implications. D. Currently, there are no global data protections. Answer B. National data protections that apply to a country or group of countries do not exist. Explanation. National data protections do exist. 15. Which of the following is not a type of analysis to be performed by data analytics? A. Predictive. B. Diagnostic. C. Distinctive. D. Prescriptive. Answer C. Distinctive. Explanation. Data analytics can typically perform 4 types of analysis. Descriptive, what is happening now. Diagnostic, why is this happening. Predictive, what is likely to happen soon. And prescriptive, what can be done about it. 16. Which of the following is not a basic principle when considering the retention of data? A. Always retain data for 6 months after it is no longer used. B. Organizations must be able to justify their decisions. C. Periodic reviews of the data being held are necessary. D. A policy must be in place. Answer A. Always retain data for 6 months after it is no longer used. Explanation. Data should not be kept any longer after it is no longer needed. 17. Which of the following is a principle that data collected for one specified purpose should not be used for a new purpose? A. Data amalgamation. B. Purpose limitation. C. Reuse restriction. D. Data specificity. Answer B. Purpose limitation. Explanation. Purpose limitation is a principle that data collected for one specified purpose should not be used for a new or incompatible purpose. For example, collecting user social security numbers for the purpose of filing insurance claims is a justifiable action. However, using all or part of the social security number as a unique identifier should be prohibited. 18. Which of the following is a subset of AI? A. RUB, Data Analytics, C. ML. GPT. Answer C. ML. Explanation. Machine learning, ML, is a subset of AI. It uses statistical techniques to give computer systems the ability to learn or progressively improve their performance using data, rather than being explicitly programmed by a human. An ML system can create a refined algorithm for the next iteration. ML works best when aimed at a specific task, rather than a wide-ranging mission. 19. Which of the following is a not cybersecurity task that AI can perform? A. Perform breach risk prediction. B. Manage incident response. C. Reduce threat exposure. D. Implement controls. Answer D. Implement controls. Explanation. AI can analyze controls but not implement controls. 20. Which of the following is not adversarial AI? A. Create algorithms. B. Taint training data. C. Generate attacks. D. Circumvent defenses. Answer A. Create algorithms. Explanation. Adversarial AI can compromise algorithms but not create algorithms. If you are unable to do that, you will need to log in. Creating a YouTube account is free and takes less than a minute. To see more videos like this, please click in the rectangle in the middle of your screen. To see other videos from this channel, please click the circle on the bottom right. Thanks for watching. We will see you on the next one.